What's a frequency table? Alright, so I'm going to give a few examples of different kinds of frequency tables, some less formal, some more formal. So starting with the kind of least formal, is a frequency table is really any table like this that just keeps track of the frequency or the count that something happens. So this would count as a frequency table if I just have animals on one side and the frequency, which sometimes we use the little f. Often for this other part, for the label, we'll more formally use the word called class to describe that, but informally it might just have a label like this one, animals. So I have the names of each category of animal, and I also like to have the total at the very bottom to make sure that I counted everything up correctly. And then we keep track of the frequency or the count that that animal has. So there's 4 zebras, so 4 zebras, 2 lions, 3 elephants, 2 bears, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 animals total. And you can count these up just to make sure that you didn't accidentally make a mistake. So this is a basic frequency table, but we could do it a little bit differently. Here's another example that is keeping track of the number of Pikachu cards that each member of the Pokemon Club have. So that's what this represents. One member has 4, another member has 4, another member has 4, another member has 5, 5. You know, Johnny has 8, Maria has 8, Chris over here has 11. So they just went around and asked everyone, how many Pikachu cards do you have in the club? And this is what happened. So you might say, well, what's the class? What's the category here? Is it the different members? Like David has 4, you know, Chris has 4. So sometimes when you notice that a lot of the numbers repeat, like we have 3 4s here, 2 5s, several 8s, is that we use those as the classes. So again, I could use the term class here, or I could say something like a number of, Pikachu cards. And then I'm like, all right, cool. So, and then the frequency. So here I'm saying is, what's the frequency that somebody has 4? So there's 1, 2, 3 people who have 4 cards. So it might seem a little bit confusing, right? But this is the label, right? We're saying like, how many of them have 4 cards? 3 of them have 4 cards. How many of them have 5 cards? 2 of them. And usually we'll go in order, even though maybe there's not something for all of them. 10, 11. So 0 people have 6 cards, 0 people have 7 Pikachu cards, and 1, 2, 3, 4 of them have 8 cards, 0 of them have 9 cards, 0 of them have 10 cards, and 2 of them have 11 cards. Again, it's usually a good idea if you add all this up just to make sure that you have all of them. But that's another example of a frequency table. You could do it for numbers that repeat. The last way that you're going to see is we do a little bit more formally. So here I use the term classes, but the classes here represent the number of hours playing video games, rounded to the nearest hour. And they have a range, right? We're going to go through these definitions, but this lower number, the 3 here, is sometimes referred to as a lower class limit. And all of these are lower class limits, the 6, the 9, the 12, all the ones on the left hand side. And the 5 over here is sometimes called an upper class limit. And so we're saying, well, we're going to count all the people who spend 3 to 5 hours playing video games. And we don't have the data listed here. And that's one of the downsides of a frequency table. If you're just given the frequency table, I don't know if these 2 people who play video games from 3 to 5 hours both played 3 hours of video games, or both played 5 hours of video games, right? If I actually had the data list, maybe it was 3, and then all of a sudden it was 7, 8, 8, right, and so on. And we could say, okay, well, how many people are from the 3 to 5 class? These 2 people spent 3 hours, they're in that 3 to 5 class. Then how many people are from the 6 to 8 class? Well, all these people, right, are from 6 to 8. Notice none of them, played video games for 6 hours. Here, no one played for 4 hours or 5 hours. And this doesn't tell you that. All it does is tell you that 2 people played video games from 3 to 5 hours, 4 people played video games from 6 to 8 hours, 7 people from 9 to 11 hours, and 3 people played video games for 12 to 14 hours. And again, it's always nice to have the total number of frequencies kind of that are labeled here, because as we add these guys up, they should equal to 16 pieces of data that we actually have, so 16 recorded times. But we'll talk about more of that later. But the main idea here is just that a frequency table is just a table that has some sort of category or classes, and we're just counting how many each one occurs.